A good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 8 of the 939 CrossFit AROC Touring Car Championship. I do apologise for the small delay, well, I say small delay, quite large delay in proceedings here this evening. We had a couple of technical hitches, as you may see. We've had a bit of a change in graphics as well. That has resulted in unfortunately, we have lost all of our graphics for this season, and we're having a couple more issues with the current setup that will get resolved in just a moment's time. Yeah, so things like you won't be able to hear any in-car audio for the next minute. I'll just give you a brief update on what is going on in this qualifying session. We are, of course, at Mugello for round 8. We visited it just 7 days ago in the single-seaters, and has certainly proved to be a very technical circuit indeed. And of course, Will Inglis, I'm sure, would rather forget about his last visit to Mugello, although it's going much better around. It's going much better this time around. 2 minutes 1.7 sees him class of the field at this point in time. We have seen an appearance from Guy Swart. Apologies, of course we've seen an appearance from Guy Swart. We have seen an appearance from Matt Daly. He's just joined the session, so we wait to see how he fares in this very truncated, not only qualifying stream, but qualifying session for him as well. Nathan Birch, Will Inglis' nearest rival at the moment as we run down towards turn 1 then inside the Martini liveried car. I believe we have gone on board with someone else. We're having a couple of technical issues, as I say, so we're not quite able to bring you the most well-versed qualifying coverage, shall we say. That has, of course, come to an end now. This session, the flag has waved, and it is Will Inglis currently sat on provisional pole. And that pretty much does bring an effort to the qualifying run, apart from Matt Daly, the car we're on board with here. He is yet to complete his fast lap, so we'll go on board with him on the timing system as well to see how he is faring. So as he heads down that start-finish straight once again. Oh, in fact, no, we've gone on board with someone else. I don't actually have any control at the moment over whom I'm board with. Well, back on board, though, with Matt Daly as he heads up through the final part of the lap. Only that chicane can certainly catch you out, and it is, of course, a very oversteery car as well. That could prove to be very challenging indeed for certain drivers. As we head now, it's a good lap so far for Matt Daly. In fact, is it his out lap? I believe it could be his out lap, if that is the case, and it is. I'm not sure if Matt Daly is going to get a fast lap in. No, he is not. So apologies there, folks. That isn't even a quick lap for Matt Daly. So Matt Daly's going to have all the work to complete here in race 1 then. He's going to work his way up through the field and try and find himself in good position towards the end of the race. Well, that will do it for qualifying for now. As I say, we'll try and join you in just a few minutes' time once we have a few technical issues on our side sorted out. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, ready for race 1 of round 8 here at Mugello. It will be a very interesting thing to see these very different touring cars in comparison to the single seaters that we had just 1 week ago. Oversteer is certainly the name of the game here. We have John Cole on pole, actually, which we may have missed out on in the qualifying chaos. So we have a front row of Willing List, John Cole, Nathan Birch and Greg Young, the 939 Corsa cars, who you may have seen on social media. We're getting some practice laps in, looking fantastic in those shots, might I add. We may see them having a bit of a battle as well as he flames on the overrun, and it's a good launch, in fact, for Greg Young. He's got the best launch out of anyone, apart from his teammate Nathan Birch. The two 99 Corsa cars making great getaway here down towards turn 1. John Cole fending off both Nathan Birch and Greg Young. Willingless losing out in all of that one. As we head into turn 1, both Nathan Birch, Willingless taking the slightly wider line, and John Cole, Greg Young cutting in. Barry Clayton making good progress as well as we head down towards the middle sector. Someone is off in the background. They're not quite sure who that is, but we will see in just a moment's time. And there we have another car off as well. As we can see, I believe that is Jack Hodson. It is Jack Hodson who had that very unfortunate off there as we head further into the lap. Now it is Nathan Birch now in the lead of this race. John Cole alongside with Willingless. Greg Young rather has lost out somewhat. Is now potentially under threat from Alan Matthews as we head further into this lap. Matt Daly though making good progress through the field already. On the first lap when we are in P7 with Matt Daly already. Great progress for him so far. 1 second then between John Cole and Nathan Birch, and about half a second between John Cole and Will Inglis. So the qualifying favourites losing out somewhat. They are now splitting the 99 Corsa cars of Nathan Birch and Greg Young. Many cars on the rundown then towards turn 1. The start-finish straight is impacted. It's a bit of a pack battle here. It is Alan Matthews, Barry Clayton, Matt Daly, and is that Andrew Brammer as well? No, it's not. It's Alan Matthews, Greg Young. Greg Young losing out, heading into turn 1. Lockups plenty for some drivers here as Matt Daly gets a little bit of a tank slapper on as he tries to go up the inside of Alan Matthews. Wasn't able to get that move done as a result of that, but it's still very much in play here. Is in fact side by side and up into P5, and there is contact between Alan Matthews and Matt Daly. Big tank slapper, gets opposite lock-on does Matt Daly, and is able to recover it. That is a fantastic recovery from Matt Daly there, and he's up into P5. Meanwhile, Alan Matthews suffering a little bit more from that one. He's all the way down into P9 now. 1.1 seconds separating Nathan Birch and John Cole at this point in time. So while all of the mid-pack battle is going on, John Cole is setting some blistering lap times at this point in time. Bearing in mind, we've got a full tank of fuel on board. He is purple through sector 1, purple through sector 2, and I think he could make it a bit of a hat-trick towards the end of the lap here. He has closed that gap a little bit towards Nathan Birch. The gap now standing at about 0.6 of a second. A small lock-up into that last corner, though, and it kicks the back end out. This car has such an interesting handling characteristic, if you will. It's so... The back end is so eager to step out. Now, I am not quite sure of the full technical ins and outs of this car, so it was made blatantly apparent at the very start of the season. But I believe it's still transaxle. And therefore, Are we seeing that the big heavy gearbox at the back end of the car, allowing that car to kind of fishtail its way through the lap? Although Greg Young is now back past Matt Daly to head through that first corner. He's got ahead of Matt Daly here, but Matt Daly gets a good run out of that first corner. He's going to be fighting back because he goes around the outside here. He does get the benefit of the inside, but as we've seen on so many times before, through turn 3, he looked like he could have had the inside, but well defended by Greg Young. Greg Young is so strong on the defence that he's often a bit of a roadblock for some drivers. Even the best in the field, the likes of Matt Daly, can't find their way past him. And as a result, he still maintains P4 though. Although, is this going to be Matt Daly's next best chance? It will not be. Too little too late, unfortunately, heading into this corner. We'll have to wait once again. Has to look around the outside, but cannot get the move done. And all this battling actually is pushing these two back towards the mid-pack somewhat. Barry Clayton, for example, now only 1.3 seconds behind Matt Daly. Meanwhile, likes of Willingless, John Cole are about 3 seconds up the road. So they're making they are making a bit of a hash of their own race if they keep enjoying this battling. But I'm sure they would want to, and we want to as well. The ketchup and mustard cars are battling it out as we now go near enough side by side. It's going to be Greg Young who has the benefit this time around, though. Once again, he's looking very strong, although he does make a bit of a move as Matt Daly goes late on the brakes up the inside and gets a better run as well out of the exit. He's going to be compromised heading through the final corner now, but it is Matt Daly up into P4 for the time being. In fact, we weren't quite there towards the final corner just yet. We've seen this catch a few drivers out before. Will we see another one here? No, it's looking a little bit more calm and composed for Matt Daly and Greg Young here. Barry Clayton, though, very much in the mix, so he's capitalised well on the battling out in front of him, and he's now very much hot on the heels of Greg Young. He's going to be right on that rear wing, filling up that rearview mirror and creating a bit of a problem for him, because Greg Young is very much wanting to focus on just trying to get that position back, wants to get that P4 back after starting well. Unfortunately, he's not quite made the innings that he would have wanted to. Still, it's a net, I believe it's a net positive or a net neutral in the race for him so far. Has a four-wheel lock-up heading into the first corner there, but he wants to make sure he's trying to make some progress, get towards that podium once again. This isn't looking like it could go his way, though, as we have Barry Clayton very much in the mix here. Meanwhile, further down the run it is Andrew Rammer and Paul Brady. We're on board with Paul Brady here, having a bit of a switch around here. I think Andrew Rammer had a bit of an issue that has meant he's had to drop back. So here we have Barry Clayton very much putting the pressure on Greg Young now. Matt Daly is just a distant memory for Greg Young at this point in time in this race. And we'll be watching with bated breath to see how this battling continues on. Meanwhile, at the front end of the field, Nathan Birch holds that lead for a good few laps now. However, we see the small error kick in, heading into the corner. The back end steps out. He didn't want to go that wide. However, the car decided otherwise. And there we have John Cole now, only 3/10 off the race leader, Nathan Birch. We've seen already Nathan Birch has some impressive pace, but John Cole's is just that little bit better. Currently, fastest man on track is Matt Daly. Purple sector 2 and personal best through the first sector. But it's looking like Nathan Birch is going to have to work out for him in order to try and keep John Cole behind. Running down the start-finish straight now, John Cole has the advantage of a little bit of a slipstream, and his car is looking just that little bit more eager down the straight, whether that be owing to setup, gearing, whatever could be causing that. It is John Cole who currently has the upper hand in terms of top speed here at Mugello. Heading into that first corner then, he goes 152 miles an hour through the speed trap, and another log up, and the back end stepping out once again for Nathan Birch. That could have been a very important move, ladies and gentlemen. That could have been the move that determines this race. Now John Cole is clear of Nathan Birch, not quite clear wholly, but certainly can start to think about running away from it a little bit now, and can start focusing on just building a nice, comfortable gap to the cars behind. This could be a very important move here in this race. As we have, meanwhile, another important move, Willingless and Matt Daly. Remember when Matt Daly and Greg Young were battling it out? Now it's Greg Young and Barry Clayton. We're all in pairs, 2 by 2 clearly, but it is now Willingless and Matt Daly heading into the middle sector with the blue and the yellow car this time around. More of a fitting tribute to the folks of Ukraine, I think, this time around, than ketchup and mustard, of course. We have another one of those actually coming to the UK very soon, the Eurovision Song Contest, which is in my hometown of Liverpool. So I'll be looking forward to that one. I won't be breaking the keys to the Alfa out though, because I imagine traffic will be hectic, shall we say. It's certainly been a hectic race for the likes of Matt Daly, as he's worked his way up from P13 all the way to P3 now, and is now focused on P2 in just a moment. Apologies, he's currently in P4 and is focused on P3 in just a moment's time there. Willingless on the defensive already, as you can see, goes for the inside line there into the braking zone, but interesting, that seems to be the case in this car on this circuit so far, the car track combo. You go to the inside, you try and defend from there, you seem to get pushed wide. That seems to be what we've seen so far. Drivers trying to go too deep, too late onto the brakes, and that has forced them wide, forced the back end out, and that has just cost them eons of time. It must feel like an absolute age. It's just allowed the person they're defending against to sweep on past, as we have Matt Daly sweeping on past now to get onto the start-finish straight. Once again, back up into P3 for Matt Daly now. I imagine we're going to have a bit of a fight on our hands, because Willingless is certainly going to want to try and take that position back. And it was looking hopeful for him for just 1 second, but as we head back into that first corner with a tank slapper to boot as well, Matt Daly gets back into third position. This could be a battle that goes on for a little while though, so we're going to stay on board with them and see how they're enjoying things. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the field, it is Greg Young and Barry Clayton still enjoying a battle. Barry Clayton still not getting the move that he wants to get done just yet. We have Paul Brady and Andrew Brammer within 1 second of each other, and then we have a little bit of a wait to the cars behind, but overall everyone's still on the lead lap at this halfway stage in the race, and a very interesting race developing between a couple of drivers up front. Greg Young and Barry Clayton, they're heading into the middle sector on circuit now. It is still Greg Young, currently in P5, has fallen back a little bit in this race, but still nothing really to complain about. Is on the defensive against Barry Clayton. Barry Clayton actually a bit of a dark horse in this race, not only because he has the very dark, very retro liveried car there, but is looking like a bit of a surprise actually. I wasn't expecting to see really after the qualifying session, he wasn't really one of the standouts, but he's put together a very good race so far, a very competent race of that as well. He's now fighting with Greg Young, who at one point was fighting for the lead in this race. Could we see a late resurgence from Barry Clayton? Well, if he wants to get that done, he's going to have to try and get past Greg Young first, and as Matt Daly can tell you, certainly not an easy feat here at Mugello. As we were talking about in the previous race, in the single-seaters here at Mugello, not an easy circuit to overtake on. It is relatively high speed. Arguably for these touring cars, it's even more high speed than the single-seaters in terms of how much downforce they produce, what they're capable of. It's a relatively high-speed circuit. Combine that with the fact it's quite technical. You've got some interesting twisty sections. You've got some long corners that can really stretch out the tyres. Combine that all with the fact that apart from this part on the start-finish straight here, it's not the widest circuit in the world. You can be very easily found out, shall we say, and you could soon find yourself in the gravel. There are a few corners that tend to open themselves up wide in the middle of the apex, the middle of the radius. Some of the longer corners, they tend to get a little bit wider, and Barry Clayton has had a fairly catastrophic off there. That is not what you want to see for his race. There's some good momentum underneath him there. The commentator's curse clearly not as strong as it has been over the past few rounds, but still in effect somewhat. Of course, the commentator's curse has been the undoing of many a driver so far, especially over the past few weeks, and I think this is our first example. Apologies, Barry, I did say how much of a good race you were stringing together there, and unfortunately that one small issue there sees you now down in P7, potentially a threat from the likes of Paul Brady, but he should still be able to get back on track, pick his pace back up, and recover some decent points from this race. That is, I imagine, quite relieving news for Greg Young, currently in P5. He has a few seconds down to Alan Matthews and a couple of seconds up to Willingless up in front. Speaking of a couple of seconds in front, Matt Daly is now quite comfortably a couple of seconds ahead of Willingless, who we've just been talking about there, and is now running it in P3. So a spot on the podium from last for Matt Daly sees him now only 4 seconds off the lead of this race. John Cole has been slowly but surely, speaking of the lead of this race, slowly but surely extending that lead out from the cars behind, although not at like a rocket ship rate. He's plodding along nicely, and Nathan Birch is still putting up a good fight, even though you might expect his morale to be just a little bit lower in the car there. Of course, we run a very stiff setup on this circuit. The tarmac's quite old, and I suspect there might be an issue with the mod potentially, although this isn't mod actually, of course. But you see there the cars bounding over the curbs and bounding through that right-hander there. The surface looking a little bit uncomfortable for the cars there. And unfortunately for Barry Clayton, we were hoping he was going to be able to pick up that momentum and carry on once again. He sees himself down in P8 once again. On board at the moment, still with Barry Clayton as we head towards the end of the lap. It is a fantastic effort from Barry Clayton to get that position back from Paul Brady. Has a look around the outside, potentially never going to make that move stick though. From the remains in P8 for the time being. Andrew Brammer now getting involved in the mix in this as we head towards the final couple of corners now. And we see Paul Brady's car getting a little bit uncomfortable over that curb, heading through the right-hander. That could have cost him an important couple of tenths as we head into the final corner. And Paul Brady is off. He's going to drop way down into P9 there. Barry Clayton back up into P7. Meanwhile, Nathan Birch and Matt Daly, our one-time race leader, is hoping to keep someone who is a race leader hopeful at bay. As we head into that first corner then, a big lock-up for Nathan Birch. He did very well to keep the nose pointing in the correct direction there, and Matt Daly nearly followed him as well actually. His car didn't look entirely comfortable, although it was nowhere near the severity of what Nathan Birch was having to deal with as we head into a later part of the lap now. Still then, as we head further into the race, final few minutes now, it is Nathan Birch and Matt Daly battling it out still. Nathan Birch doing a very good job to keep Matt Daly at bay, but surely he must be feeling in the cockpit now. It is just a matter of time. Matt Daly has some impressive pace underneath him. I mean, just if we have a look at his best lap so far in this race, it is a 2-minute 2.1 in comparison to Nathan Birch's 2-minute 2.7, and in terms of previous lap pace, it was well over half a second advantage into Matt Daly's favour there. So as we head onto the start-finish straight, once again we see that Greg Young is actually now past Will Inglis. Will Inglis, of course, at one point a race leader, hopeful man, looking very competitive in qualifying indeed. Now finds himself down in P5. Meanwhile, heading into the first corner once again. It's going to be the first corner braking zone. It's nearly made or broken a few races so far this evening, and it's going to be not quite as consequential as we were expecting so far on this lap, although Matt Daly has a very good run. And as we head into turn 2, it could be the case that Matt Daly's able to get the move done. Will he? No, he's going to have a look at the inside the nose halfway alongside that car there, but not able to get past. Side by side then, and it is Nathan Birch who is able to defend once again. That's a very impressive effort from Nathan Birch. Actually, it was looking like for a second it was going to be all over for him there, but Matt Daly still not able to find his way past just yet. Just having a look at terms of strategy in this race so far, everyone is on the medium tyre. I thought we had a run on the soft compound tyre for a brief moment, but we've decided the medium is the better option. That was actually stands to reason because medium was a favourite in qualifying as well. And now as we head later into the race, it is going to be Matt Daly who's thinking about a move. I believe they made contact, in fact, and they still are able to carry on, so no major ill effects if that was the case. But Matt Daly, very bold of him, actually cuts onto the grass ever so slightly, is going to get that move done in the end. So as we head onto the start-finish straight in just a moment's time here, it is going to be Matt Daly who should, if the next 2 corners go well for him, lead into the next lap. Final 5 minutes of this race now. Heading into the next lap then, Nathan Birch doing a good job of keeping up so far, but hasn't been able to try any moves just yet. Meanwhile, Barry Clayton ahead of Alan Matthews. These two we've seen specifically in the Juliettas battle each other for so many occasions now, and it is going to be another battle between Barry Clayton and Alan Matthews. In fact, I'd argue 2023 has actually been a bit of a dip in the Barry Clayton Matt Daly Barry Clayton Alan Matthews action so far, so hopefully this is a sign of things to come, because these two are my favourite kind of pairing on track. They always seem to find each other on track and have some immense race-long 2/10 apart battle where they've crashed to each other about 12,000 times, and you always know if they were oh dear, no, that's gone wrong for Barry Clayton. That's not going to be the case this time around. Barry Clayton cuts over the grass, cuts over to the grass. That upsets the back end of the car, and it was just a very slow spin into the wall then from there on out. What a shame for him in this race. Not how we'd want things to go. He drops down to P9. Meanwhile, it is John Cole now 4.5 seconds clear of Matt Daly, but I'd argue that car is not looking particularly comfortable to drive. Have we joined at a crucial moment? Have we jumped on board with him at a very pertinent time in this race? Because that gap between him and Matt Daly will surely shrink, and it does. Now only standing at 2 seconds, his advantage has been halved. Matt Daly came from the bottom of the field, is so within a shout now of leading this race. That 2 second gap, now 1.5 seconds. Is there something wrong with that car? Have we missed something, unfortunately, that could explain any type of issues? Or is this just all the medium tyres had to give on John Cole's car? Is this all John Cole can do to try and take the race win here for round 1, or race 1 of round 8 here in the 99 Corsa Touring Car Championship? That previous lap in particular, a really damaging lap for John Cole. 4 seconds slower than Daly, car behind. And then behind him is Nathan Birch, still only 6 tenths down, so still very much in the mix here. And then we have a small weight down to Greg Young. But the 939 Corsa cars here, of course, started on the second row. Certainly didn't make it easy for themselves, didn't have the easiest path, but currently are still occupying a second row if we were to form up for qualifying once again. So third and fourth for the 939 Corsa cars. Still a good effort, good showing from them so far. Good haul of points for the team there. As we go on board with John Cole once again, he's managed to hold back that time deficit for now. He seems to have negated any effects of that so far. He just to make sure that he can get that car keep it on the track, keep it on the tarmac there, and bring it home safely and for his sake in the lead of this race. But I know for certain Matt Daly wants to try and take that lead back. He's certainly got the pace to at this point, I'd argue, unless his pace has dropped off, which we'll have a look at in just a moment's time there. But it is John Cole, Matt Daly battling out as we head towards the later part of this race. Now, Greg Young currently setting the fastest laps actually on the hard compound tyre, so I said that we weren't seeing a variance in strategy. Greg Young rather on that hard compound tyre. This could be the advantage that we're seeing from him now in comparison to Will Inglis. Wasn't really expecting an overtake from him and Will Inglis, but Will Inglis in the 2-minute 5s. In fact, the rest of the field in the 2-minute 5, 2-minute 4, 2-minute 6s even, while we have the people who've looked after their tyres well, and we have the hard compound runners still comfortably in the 2-minute 3s. This could play a very important role in deciding the strategy for race 2, the reverse grid race there, as we see Nathan Birch going off there. Are the medium tyres maybe not the most ideal setup for the 25 minutes here at Mugello? It is a very energy intensive circuit, of course, with all those relatively long kind of sweeping bends with high track temperature and relatively high speed corners. It's going to work the tyres hard, and of course if you're battling for the entire race, that's going to work them even harder. And that could mean that towards the end of that 25-minute race, we're going to be starting to see some tyres dropping off here. And we are, of course, at the end of the 25-minute race now. We are on the penultimate lap of the race. Let's see how John Cole manages that gap to Matt Daly. Will Matt Daly be able to succumb a 1.4 second gap? For a moment there, it was looking rather worrisome for John Cole. It's not completely over just yet, but we see now as we run into the final couple of laps of this race. It is John Cole who still leads by about 1.2 seconds, that gap shrinking ever so slightly. Nathan Birch and Greg Young not really providing any threat to these two front runners, but if anything happens between the two of them, we could still see those two in the mix. We have Nathan Birch currently sat on the podium, and Greg Young in P4, Will Inglis in P5, Alan Matthews in P6, and we have Paul Brady, Andrew Brammer, Barry Clayton, Stephen Knight, Jack Hodson, Paul Millman and Guy Strawbrook. What a shame for Barry Clayton. He had to come great momentum underneath him, was potentially looking at P5, P4 potentially a few laps ago. It wasn't to be this time around, unfortunately, for him. Let's see if his fortunes are reversed in the reverse grid race coming up in just a few minutes' time, where we may see some variance in the strategy then. We might see a few more cars opting for that hard compound tyre, because I'd argue it's worked quite well for Greg Young, and we could see a few more cars opting for that slange for that slange. I'll try that again. Unfortunately, that change in tactics then. Greg Young and Nathan Birch now actually swapping around, so that could be confirmation of those tyre issues that we're seeing, but that is not the main focus right now. That was a relatively easy, comfortable, painless swap around between teammates. I'm not going to say team orders there, but it was looking relatively comfortable for the two red and white livery cars there. Greg Young then is currently in P3. Meanwhile, John Cole is leading this 1-2 as we head across that start-finish line for the final lap of this race. Now, John Cole at 2-minute 3.7, he's really picked up the pace, in fact, in comparison to Matt Daly. Is Matt Daly doing his best to deal with what must be arguably the most hard-worked tyres in the entire field? Last two near enough at 1 point first. Currently in P2, and a lock-up from John Cole could mean it's still a P1 potentially in just a moment's time if this lap does not go his way. But it's looking good for John Cole at this point in time. Heading around the final few bends, and that last lap at 2 minutes 3.7, competitive. In fact, it was the quickest lap of any member of the field on that previous lap. So John Cole knows how much this final stage in the race means for him in his championship fight. We'll have a look at the championship in just a moment's time and see how he is faring. But John Cole has managed to pull it out of the bag, I'd say. It was looking rather hopeless at one point. It was, as you have Matt Daly hunting you down. It is certainly a fearsome sight to see in your rearview mirror. And Matt Daly working his way up, arguably has to be driver of the day, really, given just how competitive he has been, how he's managed to work his way up through the back end of the field. Made it look easy as well. Was already in P7 by the end of lap 1, halfway through the field. Finds himself in P2, just unfortunately didn't quite have the pace to match John Cole in the end. John Cole is very much a deserving race winner here and will be looking to take the top step on the podium for the first race here for round 8 of the 939 Corsa AROC Touring Car Championship. As we head down towards that checker flag, once again, it is John Cole who takes the race 1 victory. Congratulations, John. Very impressive drive there. And Matt Daly as well, working your way up from last all the way to P2. Matt Daly takes P2, and rounding out the field then we have Greg Young to round out the podium, and Nathan Birch close behind as well. Good showing from the team there. And then we have Willie Bliss coming home P5, and then a smaller weight to Alan Matthews, very much under pressure from Andrew Brammer. In fact, that would have been a very interesting battle to watch, as we have Paul Brady coming home in P8 and Barry Clayton coming home in P9. Unfortunately for him, not a race to remember. And then we have a small weight down to P10. But a good showing from John Cole and Matt Daly there. We have, I imagine, some celebratory drifts from Matt Daly, as has become custom for him. You know, I can very happily substitute some celebratory donuts for some celebratory drifts as we head back into the pit here. But we have Steve Knight going P10, Jack Hodson P11. Not a great race start for him, remember, so potentially all he could do, but he will be, I'm sure, quite pleased with how the reverse grid race will start. Jack Hodson does have some good pace underneath him, so let's see how he fares. And then we have Paul Milman coming home to take P12, and Guy Strawbeck was about to round it out on P13, but has had an issue in the final corner and will be coming home in just a moment's time there. Any more victory drifts from anyone? No, I don't think so. I think we are heading back into the pits to get the cars and the drivers set up for race to the reverse grid race coming up in just a few moments' time. So don't go anywhere. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, on the grid for race 2 here at Mugello. It is the reverse grid, of course, and I can tell you that we have a lineup consisting of just 40 seconds to go until lights out. On the grid then, we have Guy Strawbrick in P1, Paul Millman P2, Jack Hodson, Steve Knight on the second row, Barry Clayton and Paul Brady third row, Andrew Rammer and Alan Matthews, Will Inglis, Nathan Birch, Greg Young, Matt Daly, John Cole, rounding out the field there. 20 seconds to go until lights out there, and as suspected we do have a lot more drivers using that hard compound tyre, but we'll have a look at that in just a moment as we have the revs rising already with just 5 seconds to go until lights out. We are away as those V6s scream. It looks like it was a and now then, alongside Apologies for the lack of audio there. Apologies for the... We'll try that one again. Apologies for the lack of audio there, folks. That was a fantastic few minutes of racing there. But as I mentioned, we have a new setup, and that has unfortunately, it was very cool. We're very happy that we were able to get the stream up this evening, and it has provided us with some issues. But Nathan Birch currently facing some issues. That was a fantastic mid-pack action, mid-pack battle we've just seen between Matt Daly, Greg Young, and Paul Brady, of course. But we have some more action, I feel, coming on in just a moment's time. It's between Nathan Birch and John Cole this time around. The gap standing at about 7/10 of a second. And small errors are starting to creep in now for the 939 Corsa car there of Nathan Birch. That number 94 car starting to just see those couple more issues. He might have been working the tyres very hard in order to try and maintain this race lead, and that unfortunately is going to result in a couple of issues. You're going to start to lose that grip, you're going to start to lose time, and as small mistakes creep in, like riding over the curves, dipping onto the grass, those issues just compound with each other, and then you start to, maybe lose your cool, lose your head just a little bit, and then we have John Cole very much closing in on Nathan Birch now. But as I was saying in the, I hope it wasn't too long, that wasn't really broadcasted, as I was saying during that time there, that we do have an interesting mix of tyre compounds here. We have some drivers opting for that hard compound tyre, so that's going to be the tyre that offers you the most durability. It's going to last the longest before it starts to wear out, but it doesn't provide the best grip in the world, and it can take a little bit of time to get into what we call the operating window, where the tyre starts to heat up a little bit and starts to work better, starts to grip more as a result of having a bit of heat in it. Medium tyre is a perfect mix between durability, ease of use, if you will, in terms of getting into that window, and grip. Not the perfect mix rather, it's more of an average. And then we have the soft compound tyre that will only last you a few laps, but will be very confidence inspiring, be very grippy underneath the car, provide a lot of mechanical grip there. And Nathan Birch will be certainly wishing that for this lap at least he was on that soft compound tyre, because John Cole now only 2/10 of a second behind as we start another lap here, running into the first corner here at Mugello. It's a very interesting braking zone because you've got the combination of that slight downhill. I don't even think it's a slight downhill really. I think the camera doesn't do it justice as to just how severe it is as we run into that first corner. Then John Cole late on the brakes up the inside there. Has he got the move stuck, or is Nathan Birch going to be slightly quicker on the outside? I think he is, and that gives him the benefit of the inside for turn 2. He should be able to switch back and defend the third corner here. He does with ease. Well executed first sector for Nathan Birch there. Just how to deal with the threat of the car behind absolutely perfectly. They're beautiful moves from both drivers, but it is Nathan Birch who wins out this time round. As I was saying there, the downhill into turn 1 can provide a real challenge, especially if the car is a little bit twitchy under braking, which this car can certainly be on the odd occasion, shall we say. That downhill, that slight bumpiness to the train, that slight off camber can cause some interesting characteristics in the braking, can catch drivers out and with a spin or a lock-up, something like that. Nathan Birch was experiencing some of those characteristics just then, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously you saw the back end stepping out as he rode over the curbs, and finds himself now even more under pressure from John Cole. Meanwhile, all this is going on, Matt Daly up in P6 hasn't made the progress that would have expected him to have made in race 2, just like he did in race 1. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case for him. Paul Brady hot on his heels, and Greg Young somewhat clear of Matt Daly at this point in time. But interesting to see the dynamics between those developing lap by lap. Here we have Paul Brady ahead of Matt Daly. Now, Matt Daly really not having the momentum that we saw in race 1. What a shame. Just goes to show how interesting it is to have the race weekend format of the reverse grid race following the regular race in race 1. People's fortunes can really be turned around by that reverse grid structure, by that 2-race format here. And we'll have a look at how that format affects people's fortunes in the championships as well, of course. Meanwhile, of course, Nathan Birch and John Cole still very much enjoying their battling. It is, of course, Matt Daly who leads the championship, but as things stand, it's going to be, if John Cole can get past Nathan Birch, it will be John Cole who takes the lead in this championship back, followed by Alan Matthews, currently running in P3 and P4 in this race as well, so he should still score some good points. Nathan Birch, as things stand, won't be overtaking Alan Matthews, in fact, and will maintain his advantage over teammate Greg Young in P5, 110 points to his name. Then you have Willing Bliss in P6, Paul Brady P7, George Brook Battersby in P8, Andrew White in P9, Jack Hodson P10, Andrew Rammer P11. We should see a few drivers there making good progress, although we've just seen Paul Brady drop down, so that helps the likes of Paul Millman, Andrew Rammer out even more. We should have a few changes there. We have Barry Clayton in P14 with 15 points. And then in the AM running, although I don't believe we have any more AM runners to speak of. Really, we have Rosie Hodson leading, and then we have guys for Steve Knight, although, of course, we have a change in format heading into the later stages of this season. I should note, all will be calculated correctly, and all rewards and all kind of accolades will be distributed as was expected at the start of the season, as you know, every driver will get the credit that they deserve for the work they've done in the season, despite the changes we've made to the championship format. Lock up there for John Cole. It was looking like he was starting to put that pressure on, although have we seen a strong enough defence from Nathan Birch that he is able to keep John Cole at bay at this point in time. Should mention now Andrew Brammer, in fact, it is Andrew Brammer, alongside pretty much Matt Daly. He's got past Matt Daly, in fact, now heading into that first corner. Are we seeing potential fuel saving or engine damage in Matt Daly's car? Because there, Paul Millman was able to get past as well in that Caterpillar liveried car there. It made it look so easy heading into that first corner, although Matt Daly, strong on the braking, of course, strong through the right-hander, is able to get the position back once again. Paul Millman seems to be playing it very safe heading into that first corner. We saw it at the start of the race, we saw it just then as well. I'd almost opt on the side of Paul Millman on that one, because we've seen a lock-up here or there at Mugello in these cars can be race-ending, really, can be absolutely destroy any work you put in so far. So why not play it safe and lose position here or there, but potentially net 4 more positions, or potentially save yourself, more importantly, from losing 3, 4, 5 positions elsewhere in the race. It's not the racing, perhaps it's not the most racing driver mindset. Good thing that I am not the racing driver and would do nowhere near as well as some of these guys. In fact, any of these guys really in the cars here. I look back to the last time I bothered getting in the car was with Guy Strawbrick Willing Bliss at a Melbourne practice, and I very quickly proceeded to send Guy Strawbrick into the stratosphere. In fact, absolutely sent him with a lap one late braking move. Didn't go very well there. But luckily we have much higher standards of driving here at Mugello, as we have joined John Cole once again with just over 5 minutes to go in this race, and the battle between Nathan Birch and John Cole rages on and shows no sign of stopping. They've been within half a second of each other now for a good few laps. It's an impressive feat. Some good racecraft on display from both drivers here. As we see Matt Daly and Paul Brady here. Matt Daly finally able to get past or start making overtakes once again. He's currently down in P8, though not where we'd expect to see him. His current pace at the moment, bearing in mind at this stage in the race, we were starting to see the times creep up as the tyres began to wear out. We're expecting kind of 2:04, 2:05 region here, as Paul Brady has a look up the inside. Can he make it stick? I don't think he can from that far back, but he's very much putting the pressure on Matt Daly now. This is
not a race that Matt Daly would like to remember anytime soon, I think. What a turnaround in fortunes in comparison to race 1. But in terms of pace at the moment, it is Matt Daly actually who's currently we're on board with. Currently in the 2:07 region on that previous lap. His best lap of the race, a 2:05. Bearing in mind, we were seeing 2:03s from Matt in the previous race. The best lap of the race so far, that accolade goes to John Cole. A 2:01.8, a fantastic effort, and would have been very strong in qualifying as well. He is the quickest car on track at this point in time, matched only by his nearest rival, Nathan Birch, who are posting pretty much identical lap times here, as we have a bit of a train forming up in the mid-pack, but not quite a train, but still a very interesting battle nonetheless between John Cole and Nathan Birch. Heading down that start, finish straight, then it's near enough side by side. In fact, it will be stopped. It will be side by side. John Cole getting a fantastic getaway from the final corner. He's going to have the outside line, is John Cole. He might not even have to pick, though. He still will, though, because Nathan Birch, very late on the brakes, is able to take back the position for the run through the first corner. Can he nail the exit, or will having that slightly wider line benefit you in terms of momentum, in terms of outright speed? We've seen that on a few occasions now, where the driver on the outside actually doesn't lose too much here through turn 1, because they're able to run that slightly larger radius, able to carry a bit more speed, and that benefits you heading into the inside of turn 2. So we thought that could have been the case there. It wasn't to be for John Cole this time around, although certainly don't count him out just yet. Still very close indeed, only 3/10 separating them. Jack Hodson now able to get past Matt Daly. Matt Daly dropping into P10. This is a very pivotal race actually for Matt Daly. Of course, we have such a close fight between him and John Cole in the championship standings. Matt Daly has usurped John Cole in the championship table for the past couple of rounds, but it's looking to be John Cole could be taking that crown back once again. We are now in the final, effectively in the final quarter of the season after this round, and it's all to play for still in the championship fight. We have a very close battle going on in multiple parts of the championship table, so I look forward to reporting on it in the next issue of Alfa Romeo Driver, in the upcoming issues rather, as of course we'll be wanting to focus very much on what is going on there. As Greg Young, well, let's have a look at what's happened with him. Seems to have had a bit of a disaster here. I think that must have been an off. I thought for a second he was running a little bit slow. It could have been a mechanical issue, but he is able to pick up the pace once again. Is now potentially having a look at Matt Daly, but is about 5 positions off where he'd like to be, I am sure. Meanwhile, in all of this, while we have such a close mid-pack battle, and I'm sure positions are going to continue to change, Nathan Birch, John Cole, 2/10 apart from each other, and then we have the gap P2 down to P3, 15 seconds. So these two haven't been, they've demonstrated some fantastic racecraft here. Usually, or as is expected, you battle it out and start to slow each other down. You get more focused on trying to get the one up on each other, and you forget about the bigger picture that allows your rivals to catch up and potentially overtake. However, as we see Nathan Birch defending once again, heading into that first corner, a lock-up from Nathan Birch this time. Usually we see the lock-up from John Cole's car in this race. Nathan Birch does lock up, and it's looking even more tempting for John Cole to try and find his way past. But yes, these two have done a great job of battling out with each other without compromising their pace in relatively to everyone else on track. And that has meant they've got a 15-second advantage. That means they can almost afford to kind of have a couple of skirmishes here or there without worrying about how it's going to affect the race as a whole. This is a very impressive feat for them to be able to lap this well while battling with each other. Willing Lisso has had a good recovery throughout this race and has found himself in P3 at this point in time, so some good points on the board for him as Greg Young drops down to P11. It's almost like a case of sleeping giants in this race. We have Greg Young, Matt Daly, Barry Clayton, all a little bit further down the order than we usually tend to see them. It's been a great race so far. Here has been a very interesting. The tactics, I imagine, have been the key word in mid-pack here at Mugello. As we have John Cole now, nearly with a 1 second gap actually between him and Nathan Birch. That is the biggest gap we've seen so far between these two cars. As the gap now standing at 0.4 of a second once again. So it's still all to play for between these two cars. As we have Greg Young, Matt Daly now gain a position. That's because Barry Clayton is dropping back. So these three, I wish it was further up the order. We might be able to spend a little bit more time with them. I'll try and spend as much time with them as possible while we also have a battle for the lead going on. But these three are battling like it is for the lead. We're having these three very competitive, very fast drivers here, not giving each other any more than an inch. And it is great to see, even though it is for likes of P8, P9 or P10, they are still putting on a fantastic show. As we go back on board with John Cole, once again the timer hits 0, and I'm not quite sure if we actually made it across the line in time for a penultimate lap. I hope we get a penultimate lap, as there is contact between John Cole and Nathan Birch there, but it's going to be very close indeed. Everything he can. Worked in race 1. Nathan Birch has learned from that race and been able to keep John Cole at bay. Will he be able to keep him at bay for just a few minutes more now, or just less than a couple of minutes even? Will he be able to keep him at bay for just a couple of corners more? He has put on a stellar effort, a stellar fight. Both drivers, in fact, done a tremendous job here in this race. It will be a very important point haul for Nathan Birch as he tries to secure his position in the championship standings. And likewise for John Cole as well. He wants to take back that championship lead from Matt Daly. Is currently poised to do so. Of course, Matt Daly out of the point as things stand. And this will be a great boot for him in this championship fight. It pretty much brings him back into contention in this championship. The momentum swings back into John Cole's favour, into John Cole's hands once again. It could be made even stronger if in the next couple of corners he is able to get back past Nathan Birch, although it doesn't look like that will be the case, because Nathan Birch has put in an absolutely fantastic drive throughout over half of this race distance. It has been these two battling each other, well, maybe not quite as much as that, but either way, still an impressive fight. And as we head into that final corner, it's going to be John Cole, who has a look up to the inside, is side by side, pushes out Nathan Birch wide, and on the final corner is able to take back the lead from Nathan Birch. Running down that start finish straight now. They're going to be near enough side by side. Who's going to come out on top? They are neck and neck. Less than a tenth of a second separate each other. But it is John Cole who takes the race 2 victory. Nathan Birch comes home P2. What a photo finish. I hope we get pictures of that after the fact, because that was a fantastic drive from John Cole. Waited for the right moment. And what better moment than the very last corner of the very last lap. What a drive from John Cole to take the race 2 victory. Commiseration, Nathan. All of that effort through the Big Paul, Big Sam, Barry Clayton, Matt Daly, have Jack Hodson, P11, very much inspired to bring on the big John Cole does in fact take that race then done to take away 2 victories from fantastic driving. Well, really, it's been a great effort. Fantastic action. There was, everyone was able to find opponents. 5 minutes worth of battling it. More than battling technical issues. Apologise for effects that it's had on the stream so far, but we hope to have stream. So that is it for the racing here at Mugello. I hope you've enjoyed watching as much as I've enjoyed commentating. If you aren't sick of my voice, and I'm sure you are already, you will be able to put yourself through the pain and misery of hearing some more of it on Friday. So this upcoming Friday, the 28th of April, we will be hosting the finals of the British University Karting Championship. A link will be provided to that one, so those of you who are interested also be able to search it at the Clay Pigeon Raceway. It'll be a day of me commentating on some go-karts going around, probably in the wet, though, in Britain. So that will be another exciting commentary opportunity for me, but I do love watching these touring cars drive around. It's a little bit more exciting than a two-stroke or lower engine power thing. It's great to see these V6 cars navigate an Italian circuit like this. I hope you've enjoyed watching as much as I've enjoyed commentating, and thank you very much. We'll catch you